This severe weather situation continues to escalate with more and more rounds of thunderstorms expected from parts of the upper Midwest and the Great Plains to the East Coast in the coming days as the storm energy rolls on through. I've got the latest updates on the storms, the heat wave, and the tropics in this video with some of my custom graphics as well.
One Nation Weather.
Those awesome weather model maps I just used right there in the intro to this video are from WeatherBell, so if you want to check them out, make sure, as always, going right down there to that free trial link down there in the description. Also, I just wanted to remind you that I'm open to any comments, questions, concerns you have. Drop them down below in the comments section below this video. I'll get back to you as soon as I can with that. Also, if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing if you like this video and all the other content I have to offer on my channel. Moving beyond that, though, I want to go ahead and kind of overview the next 3 to 5 days of severe weather chances. Then I'll go day by day, timing it out for you hour by hour so that you kind of know exactly when the threats are going to be, and then you know the more specific details a little bit later in the video. Let's start with that overview here, and as we go out of our Tuesday when I'm filming this into our early Wednesday, July 31st of 2024, we're going to be watching quite a bit of shower and thunderstorm coverage, anywhere from the Dakotas down to some parts of Iowa, northern Missouri, and Illinois, especially there, and then down towards the southern Appalachians. Along this area I have circled, we could see some overnight storms tonight going into our Wednesday. Many of these storms have been ongoing in this general area for the last couple of days. Now we're seeing more complexes as I film this, beyond the time when I film this, so going into our early Wednesday, even through the middle point of Wednesday, be ready for some of those storms in that area, but we're going to begin to see a little bit more of a focused threat that's not just on the edge of a ridge, heading out of Wednesday into our nighttime Wednesday night, going into early Thursday. You can see this is Thursday around at 2 a.m. in the morning. Some earlier day storms will have likely already pushed out of parts of the Dakotas, Nebraska, Kansas by this point, and then heading even into the evening and overnight hours, we'll continue to see some activity with especially the damaging wind threat moving through parts of Minnesota, Iowa, northern Missouri, Wisconsin, Illinois. Some of the storms could have already been ongoing there Wednesday evening as well, but we'll even see them into the nighttime hours, so definitely expect to lose some sleep on our Wednesday night in some of those locations. Here we go towards our late Thursday into our Thursday night, and this overall system weakens but continues pushing eastward. We've got enough heat and instability that's going to develop throughout the entirety of the day. A lot of the storms are going to wait till the very end of the day and into the evening time, like right here around 11 p.m. Thursday evening, to really form and tap into that energy from Wisconsin all the way down there towards Pennsylvania and even in some parts of the Ohio Valley in between. We're going to be watching that severe threat Thursday afternoon into the evening with possibly multiple complexes of storms. Then, here we go towards our Friday afternoon, yet again some more storms. These look a little bit more run-of-the-mill than what we see Thursday, but still some parts of the Ohio Valley and into the Mid-Atlantic will have to watch the isolated to scattered severe weather threat, mostly with damaging winds like many of these days have been, into our Friday afternoon. Look at this. Here we go towards our Saturday afternoon. More storms over a lot of the same areas. Ohio, day after day of rain. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Could see at least some regular thunderstorms, at least at the minimum, each of those days. Flooding is a very concerning threat, so I'll definitely be tracking that for you as well, and we'll talk a little bit about the rain totals later in this video too. Let's go and take a look at that jet stream, though, around the 15 to 20,000 feet point in the atmosphere here, so above our heads here in America, looking up to the skies. This is what our jet stream is going to be doing going towards our Wednesday evening with that severe threat. Focused right around Iowa, you can see why. This is a trough. This is a dip in the jet stream. And think of this dip in the jet stream as taking a little dip or a dive into a pool of moisture that we have sitting right over this area that I have circled here. This is that bullseye zone. That's where you're going to have plenty of moisture and instability for storms to fire up right out ahead of that jet stream pulse. And that's where we're going to have some of the strongest storms Wednesday going into our Thursday. Thursday afternoon into the evening, you can see there's a southeastern side of that jet stream energy there in the Midwest and Ohio Valley. That's why the threat is going to be highest there and in some parts of the Great Lakes. Heading into Friday and Saturday, weakening jet stream energy, but we'll still have some threat for severe storms towards the East Coast then. Timestamps are in the description if you want to skip ahead to Thursday, Friday, Saturday's threats like I was just looking at there, but let's talk about Wednesday more in depth as we're going to have a significant severe weather threat, and I want to pinpoint it for you there in the Midwest, the parts of the Northern Plains, the Upper Midwest, wherever, using my ONW severe scale here, a 1 to 7 severe weather scale. Each level that you go up is another level towards more significant severe storms, and we're up to a level 4 of 7 in some parts of South Dakota, Nebraska, Minnesota, and Iowa, so that's that bullseye area, and in surrounding zones where I want you to be most concerned. We're going to have a strong piece of jet stream energy pairing with rich low-level moisture and heating to fuel a possibly intense hail and wind threat beginning earlier in the afternoon in some areas of the Dakotas with mainly that hail threat before moving southeastward and really starting to crank up that wind threat. Some wind gusts could be upwards of 75 miles per hour especially as we move this thing towards Iowa into the evening and overnight hours Wednesday into Wednesday night, heading into our early Thursday. Let's go ahead and time things out with our Wednesday threats. Let's start with the morning time frame. Remember, I was talking about earlier in this video that as I film this on your Tuesday evening, I don't want to get days confused, I'm filming this on your Tuesday evening, we're going to have some storms overnight tonight and into our Wednesday morning, continuing from Iowa all the way down there along this belt where we've been seeing them down there towards parts of Kentucky, Tennessee. I can't tell you exactly where in this general zone they're going to be. Don't trust this model with your life that they're going to be right in Iowa, right there in Illinois and Indiana, but certainly keep an eye out if you live in any of these areas I have the arrows through. We could certainly see some damaging winds, isolated hail, and maybe even a spin-up tornado as these continue. They should weaken down across the Midwest and Ohio Valley, though, overall, allowing things to heat up as we head into our Wednesday afternoon. Here we go, 1, 2, 3 o'clock Wednesday afternoon. Pushing later into the day, around 2, 3, 4 o'clock, we'll probably have quite a bit of storms already exiting North Dakota. I think North Dakota won't quite have as much of a threat as South Dakota, northeast Nebraska, northwest Iowa, and southwest Minnesota will have. Look at this. I mean, middle to back half of the afternoon, we could already be well underway with some of those most significant threats over this area. Southeast South Dakota moving over into parts of Minnesota, Iowa. That looks like that area where that 4 was definitely the most well-deserved, as these storms will produce some of that hail that could be upwards of 2 to 3 inches in diameter in a few cases. And then eventually we see kind of this curly Q look to the overall setup. Right out there on the front end of that curly Q there from southern Minnesota back down to northern Kansas. That's where that best threat for some of those damaging windstorms will be. Doesn't really matter whether this is one full line or if it's broken into a few individual segments. We'll definitely still have that damaging wind threat probably carrying into the late evening, into the middle of the night, as I mentioned earlier. This is as we go towards 10, 11 o'clock, at least according to this simulation of what could occur. Down there in southern Iowa, northern Missouri, we could start to really get in on the leading edge of some of those heaviest storms that will have just moved through Des Moines, Marshalltown, and Waterloo there in Iowa, continuing to push towards the southeast, but overall I think we'll see things weaken once again. With time, these damaging winds events don't necessarily last forever, and that's exactly going to be the case as we go towards our Thursday. Speaking of Thursday, let's go ahead and take a look at that threat. Depending on how strong that little system is there that continues out of Wednesday night into our Thursday, it could affect Thursday's threat and the heating that we could get over Illinois and Indiana and Ohio and northern Kentucky, where I have that level 3 of 7. But for now, we're going to keep that level 3 of 7 down. I've been talking about this area for a few days now. It's really looking like a strong jet stream trough, and some generally favorable surface ingredients will come together over this area of the Midwest and Ohio Valley Thursday into our Thursday night. Damaging winds should be the main threat with any storms left over from Wednesday, or any newly forming storms into the afternoon and evening. Let's time that out using some closer range reflectivity here from the European model. Notice again, it really shows exactly what that HRRR shorter range guidance was showing for us. Heading out of our Wednesday night into our Thursday morning, we've got these weakening storms somewhere in this general vicinity from Missouri all the way over there to Ohio. We could have some storms in and around at least some of these areas. It's not going to be as widespread as this makes it look, but there will be little pockets in probably each of these states where we're looking at some form of storms through our Thursday morning. By the time we go towards Thursday afternoon, we might see a little re-strengthening over there towards Ohio or West Virginia of some of those storms that move from west to east. But overall, it looks like heading into those evening hours after that peak daytime heating, that's when we'll see some of the worst storms fire up across most of this region, anywhere from around southern Wisconsin, down through Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, over to Pennsylvania and Maryland. That's where the best threat for storms will be. Michigan could even get in on some of these some point Thursday into our Thursday night. Here we go. Now you're looking at the threat as we go towards our Friday. We're going to look at Saturday momentarily. These are going to be with our severe zones graphic. Right here at ONW, I like to use the severe zones graphic for anything around 3 to 4 days out from when I film a video. This shows where I have the highest confidence in at least putting down a level 2, a level 3, a level 4, etc. on my ONW severe scale. Heading out of the Ohio Valley into the Appalachians and some parts of the Mid-Atlantic, that's where the best threat for severe weather should be Friday. Very similar zone as we go towards Saturday. Not to say that we couldn't see severe weather elsewhere, but this is just that area of highest confidence, and we'll see a lot of overlap, and again, that's why I'm concerned about flooding in some of these spots too, from the Carolinas up there to places like New York City, Hartford, Connecticut. I'm not forgetting about you there in Delaware. I'm not forgetting about you there in parts of Virginia, West Virginia, North Carolina, Charlotte. I see you, all of you guys watching that thread as we go towards the upcoming weekend. Let's go ahead and time that out a little bit here. Heading towards, this is our Friday mid-afternoon. We could already see some of those storms left over from our Thursday night. I know every day it seems like there's storms left over from the night before. Sure enough, that we could see some of those Illinois over to Pennsylvania, spots in between. That seems like an area I've been repeating at times if you've been watching the full video. That's where we're going to be concerned about the flooding as well. Here we go into our Friday afternoon. Notice some storms back on over there into the Midwest and Ohio Valley, but it looks like the strongest ones are going to be really draped anywhere there from Pennsylvania down somewhere to around Tennessee and the southern Appalachians, kind of following the mountain range and areas just on the eastern slopes. Here we go towards our Saturday afternoon. More storms over a lot of the same spots. Notice where those best chances of rain are going to be: Syracuse, Binghamton there, New York, Albany, down here through Scranton, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C. We've got Richmond there. We've got Raleigh and Greensboro, North Carolina, down to Columbia, South Carolina. We could see some flooding along this boundary as well. Not just Friday, not just Saturday, as a lot of these storms move through the mid-Atlantic. But look at this. This is Sunday. It looks like a carbon copy just being pasted down. I promise I'm not duplicating anything. I'm not trying to, steal your time away. We're looking at the same thing over and over heading towards the upcoming weekend. And that's going to cause the flooding threats. In fact, let's talk flooding threats day by day for the next few and heading towards the weekend as well. As we go from, as I'm filming this on your Tuesday night through around the midday Thursday time frame, we will continue to see some of those bouts of storms in this general area of the Midwest heading down there to the Ohio Valley. Don't focus on exactly where it shows those little red spots. That's not exactly where the heaviest rain is going to be. This is not perfect. This weather prediction center graphic is not perfect. Definitely expect some of those isolated 2 to 6 inch totals of rainfall, depending on how heavy the storms last over your area, though, and how many rounds you see. The only good news is that if this comes in multiple rounds, there will be some breaks in between. There will not be quite as many breaks as this slows down this overall system and moves to the east coast as we go towards the upcoming weekend. This is just the rainfall through Saturday night, not even including that carbon copy Sunday that I was just showing you with the heavy rainfall a moment ago. Looks like places in Ohio, West Virginia, all along the east coast, we could see some widespread 2 to 4 inches of rain by the weekend. We do need quite a bit of rain in some spots in the mid-Atlantic and surrounding spots, though, as well. So I do want to point out that this is much needed in a way at the same time, as it's going to be a little bit too excessive. Speaking of excessive, we've got heat. I do want to provide an update on that. I'm providing an update on everything. That's why it's One Nation Weather, covering all corners of the 48 states with what their problems are. This is a problem Wednesday afternoon. Nebraska down to Oklahoma, back on all the way on over there towards central Tennessee. I mean, I see a lot of 110s in this mix here. Heat index values, this is what the temperature feels like on your skin when you factor in the humidity. This is where that dew point, the same thing that actually is the moisture content that helps feel severe weather, comes into play and actually makes your skin feel very moist, and you can't get rid of that sweat either. All the way up there to southern Minnesota, Wednesday will feel like near 100. It'll be a lot better Thursday there, but we'll see a lot of 100-degree feels like temperatures now making their way into spots of the Ohio Valley. Notice where this is. This is just south of where those heaviest storm chances will be, but still in an area with a chance for storms. This is because you're right on the edge of that ridge, also on the edge of the storm chance. Down here in the southeast U.S. Thursday, heading into Friday, Saturday, a lot of these numbers will be the same, feeling like 100 plus, unless you're up there in the nice mountains there of western North Carolina and western Virginia, the state of West Virginia too. Temperature anomalies heading towards the 2nd, which is as we go towards our Friday. Heading towards the 3rd, which is as we go towards our Saturday, warmer than average for most of the country, at least according to my predictions and using some of the models and ensemble guidance. Up there in the Pacific Northwest is where the best chance of being well above average will be, but keep in mind being above average in the southeast U.S. means you're, instead of being 90 or 95, with much higher humidity as well. Here is that tropical weather outlook from the National Hurricane Center. Now we're up to a 60% chance of development as of mid-afternoon on our Tuesday here, as this thing is going to be near the Bahamas heading towards the start of the weekend, near Florida towards the Georgia, Carolinas area towards the back half of the weekend. The GFS model has this thing kind of moving over Florida and never really forming. The European model has it eventually forming somewhere off the Carolina coast. Right now, this Hurricane Center outline kind of makes it look like it's going to stay off the Carolina coast. There's a lot of evidence, but none of it is concrete into one solution right now. So don't trust those thumbnails that show major, storm. Nobody's talking about this yet for the southeast U.S., the mid-Atlantic, and the east coast. I am talking about it. I'm just not panicked about it. There's no need to stress about something like this. Just keep an eye on it for down the line. I appreciate every single one of you who has made it to this point in the video. If you have not already and you're new to the channel, consider hitting that subscribe button. Even if you are already a subscriber, hitting that like button really helps me out right here at the channel as well. Drop any comments, questions you have down below. I'll answer them as soon as I can. I will see you back here in the next video, which will be sometime in the next few days, depending on how the weather goes.
One Nation Weather.